more questions as we get up in these started right now. All right. I don't know what nonsense has been going on around here for the last few weeks, but I am back to a store order like the RC Hawk is here. Let's do this thing, people. Training camps begin this week. And let's start them with some opening statements. RC, I will begin with you as we look forward to the beginning of the season. Give me an opening. Joe Burrow will win the MVP. Listen, he's set on quarterback. It normally goes to the best quarterback on the best team. He's won the comeback player of the year 2 times. He's so good. He got T. Higgins $115 million. He got Jamar Chase $140 million. 43 tubs, 4,900 yards. Joe Burrow wins the MVP this year. No matter how good the team is, he's going to be that special. Well, that's an interesting point because he probably was the MVP of the league last year, just having his team in contention all the way to the end. But we say best quarterback on best team. Will this team be good enough?
That's the tough part, because if I think that Joe Burrow is going to be the MVP, that means that defense has taken not only a little step, a huge step. And without that, to your point, RC, best player on best team, I don't have the confidence in that defense.
He can't win the MVP because we got another one coming up.
Okay, fair enough. We call that a harbinger of things to come. Mike T, let's get to your opening statement.
I love Love. Jordan Love will win the MVP. A lot of the reasons RC just mentioned. Look, you take away 3 or 4 throws from last year, he was right there. I love Matthew Golden. He was my favorite receiver in the draft last year. Great route runner, great hands. You put him around Dontavius Wicks, Jayden Reed, everybody else. This team will score and score often. Little concerned about the secondary, but they should be explosive on offense. This is Jordan Love's year.
Jordan Love was my preseason pick to win MVP last year, and then he got hurt in the very first game in Brazil. To some degree, he never looked fully himself. He did not play the way I expected.
He was injured early, but this is the year we get a definitive statement on who Jordan Love will be. He was everybody's niche pick to be the MVP, take that next step and be with the top tier of quarterbacks. This year, we figure out if he's going to be the guy or just the guy.
That I think is right, and there are heavy expectations that are through no fault of his own, but he's following in this lineage, right? It was Favre to Rodgers, now it's Rodgers to Love. We showed you the glimpses. People want him to be that next guy. Finally, give me an opening statement.
Yeah, the Steelers will win a playoff game, and because of that, Aaron Rodgers will return for another season. I'm from Western Pennsylvania, RC. I know you spend a lot of time in Western Pennsylvania. If this guy wins a playoff game, his personality, which is quirky, and you can talk about it, it will fit perfectly where the Pittsburgh Steelers are. Not only that, he will be intoxicated with affinity, and he's going to say, hey, let's run it back, Pittsburgh fans.
You're buying it.
I'm not buying that.
Come on, RC.
But I am buying that this team is good. When you look at what Aaron Rodgers is able to do down the stretch of last season, and now you couple that with Mike Tomlin's allergy to losing, I expect this team to be a playoff team. And if he can make the most important plays in the moments that are critical to this team situationally, Aaron Rodgers finds a way to win a playoff game. They get to the divisional round of the playoffs, but next year they'll be putting all of their cards in the middle of the table to get one of those top quarterbacks.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm going to use facts and data. Rodgers gave me some great stats. Since in the history of the NFL, excluding Tom Brady, we've had one quarterback play in one playoff game at 42, which is what Aaron Rodgers will be in December. That was Drew Brees in 2020, one and done. So I'm just going to go.
Darius ain't himbo.
that don't make him right.
And Aaron Rodgers isn't Tom Brady.
No, I mean, Aaron Rodgers may not be Tom Brady, but the Steelers are going to be better than everyone is saying, and they already were a playoff team as they were. So we'll play on the opening statements. We'll have more of those as we go, but there are 2 teams that start training camp today, and you are interested in both of them. One of them is the Chiefs, the other the Dallas Cowboys, whose buses rolled into Oxnard, California last night. After a 7-10 record last season, Dak is back this year, and expectations are high. Pro Bowl guard Tyler Smith certainly not shy about what he expects from his team this season.
Super Bowl champions, that's always the expectation. So, yeah.
You think that's a realistic goal?
I think it is a realistic goal because we can win the Super Bowl. Like, why not? Why can't we win it? Do you think it's unrealistic?
You think the roster is in place to do that?
I think it is in place to do that, yes, sir.
What do we think of that? We're throwing him on the middle of the table.
First off, this man was interrogated like somebody who old lady found the code to his DMs on Instagram. Every time he answered the question, dude had
So, when you come into a season, you have to have that, unrealistic view of yourself. And I'm not saying it's unrealistic, but to RC's point, this is how this thing goes.
There is a pathway to respectability. I had a long time with Brian Schottenheimer in New York when he was our offense coordinator. He wants to run the ball and use play action. Last year, they were 28th in the league in play action. If they can get some production in the run game, which maybe they can between Javonte Williams, Miles Sanders, Jayden Blue from Texas, maybe that will allow Dak Prescott to get the ball, George Pickens more, and to CeeDee Lamb. And if they can just do that enough, guys, they should be good on offense.
Where is our Cowboys blue affinity for having a prognostication of positivity? Right? Because here's the thing. This is going to be the second best quarterback-wide receiver duo in all of football. Joe Burrow, Chase, and Higgins will be number one. Dak Prescott, George Pickens, and CeeDee Lamb will be number two. You have CeeDee Lamb, who is a top 5 wide receiver based on production. And then you have George Pickens, who is a top 5 wide receiver based on what he left the hospital with. And now you couple those with Dak Prescott, who finished second in MVP voting 2 years ago. And a team that found a way to win 7 games last year with Cooper Rush and a defense that couldn't stop a nosebleed. I believe that this team has a chance to compete, but I think Dak Prescott shows us this year why he's the highest paid quarterback in the league. CeeDee Lamb shows that he's one of those ones, and George Pickens has something to prove. And everything that you're hearing out of that building is he's focused on being a better man away from the field. He's focused on maturing, but we know what he can do when you give him the ball in 50-50 opportunities.
Is it oversimplifying it? I said it in the tease. We will tell you what their entire season rests on one thing. And to me, RC just touched on it.
Yep.
Is George Pickens going to be the player that he was drafted with the potential to be? Because if he is, then I agree with RC. There may not be any team outside of Cincinnati that has a better 1-2 punch at wide receiver, and Dak Prescott could have an enormous year, and that could actually transform this team, which by their standards are flying pretty low under the radar. That could transform them into a legitimate contender.
George Pickens could change the trajectory of this franchise and organization. You have Dak Prescott, who's one of the highest paid quarterbacks in NFL history. You have Micah Parsons, who will be the highest non-paid quarterback in NFL history. And for George Pickens, to your point about living up to his expectations, RC's just said it. When he left the hospital, he has number 1 receiver capabilities. Even when you watched him in Pittsburgh, it wasn't about ability. It was about consistency. It was about leadership. It was about, hey, you are the number 1 guy. You're getting more attention. It's going to take you being a professional so we can build upon that. In Dallas, he doesn't have to do that because CeeDee Lamb is that. So you have 2 number 1s down the field, which the defense has to take into account. And when they do that, it opens up everything for the Williams, for the Sanders, for the Dak.
We can't forget Jake Ferguson.
Pressure. And Ferguson, absolutely.
There's another X factor here, which is when you acquire a receiver in the last year of his deal, which we did at the Jets, Antonio Holmes, Brandon Edwards, they're on their best behavior. They're going to be productive. It's the old carrot. So whatever George Pickens has, we're going to get the best of it. But again, to me, it all starts with 3 number 1s in the offensive line and their ability to run the ball, and that'll give them much more opportunity for those 2 guys.
And the other thing is, too, you got to look at that wide receiver room. When you have someone like CeeDee Lamb, who is still a young football player, but who is ultimately talented, now there's a synergy between George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb. They'll think the same, but there's also going to be a level of respect that if CeeDee Lamb is having a day, I understand, I respect his talent, I respect the things he's accomplished. It's okay for the ball to go to him if he has the one-on-one matchup. And it's going to be the same for George Pickens coming from CeeDee Lamb. And I think that's that's so important to how they get along in that room, but also to George Pickens feeling like he's being seen throughout his tenure in Dallas.
Having been around the block a little bit, here's what I will say about the Cowboys. We tend to overstate how good they are when they're good. And now I think we have a tendency to overstate how bad they are when they're not good. This team wasn't terrible last year. They didn't go 3-14. RC just said it. In a division in which 2 of the teams wound up in the NFC Championship game, they won 7 games without their quarterback. And I might say, I think it was you who said it before I went on vacation. No team in the NFL added a better quarterback in this offseason than the Cowboys. They added Dak Prescott. This is absolutely a playoff team at minimum.
Yeah, I completely agree. And if these players play to their potential, if Micah Parsons plays when he's playing in his biggest moments, having the effect and impact even in the biggest games, and Dak Prescott is 2023 Prescott because he has George Pickens, CeeDee Lamb, it right sizes the run game. There's no reason why they can't make a run for Super Bowl.
I think we get into this thing where we are so down on the Dallas Cowboys right right? Someone who understands defense, someone who understands how to make it tough and physical in the front line, which is something that they have been lacking. You add Kenneth Murray to the linebacking core. Now Michael Parsons doesn't have to get off of the ball. You can utilize him in the best way possible. I think this team is going to be more competitive than we've given them credit for throughout this offseason.
Hello, chào mừng các bạn đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình. Để bắt đầu vào làm thì các bạn sẽ chuẩn bị cho mình những dụng cụ như sau nhé. Ở đây mình có chuẩn bị một tờ giấy màu tím này. Tiếp theo các bạn sẽ chuẩn bị cho mình một cây kéo, một cái bút chì, một cái thước này, cuối cùng là một cây súng bắn keo này.